Hello YouTube. Welcome from my stoep. I just had a nice swim and now relaxing with a pipe. My Wimpole, Savinelli Wimpole, one of my favorites, as well with my ultimate favorite tobacco, the GLP's Gaslight. I don't know how many of you would remember that I bought quite a stash of tobacco in 2013, and that stash is now, 2014, and that stash is now almost finished. So soon I'll have to visit Fort Noggins again, but it'll have to wait until after my court case, which is at the end of February. Today I would like to continue on, well, not really continue, but to add another video on ADHD. And there's quite a few topics that I would like to do, so hopefully the videos will follow more frequently. I was quite busy with transfers of tourists and things like that, but yeah, after the ADHD video, I thought I would like to make one about medication, especially because there was now 2 days when I skipped medication and I realized the difference, and I would like to share that with you today. Now, ADHD medication is a very, very hot topic. There's a lot of people who hates it, and there's a lot of people who believes it like the gospel. And then there's in between. And there's a lot of misinformation about ADHD medication. Misinformation like it makes you like a zombie, or it takes away your spontaneity, and things like that. And maybe it'll help just to share my story with you. There's basically three. Well, in South Africa, 3 medications for ADHD, of which 2 is the same components. The one is Ritalin, which I think you also know very well, and the other one is Concerta, and then the third one is Strattera. Now, my wife is the pharmacist, so not me. But as far as I know, the Strattera and the Ritalin are the same components, but differently released in your body, while the Concerta is totally a different or a new invention. Actually, such a major invention that the guy who developed it won a Nobel Prize, as far as I know, for that development, because where you have Ritalin slow and fast release tablets, Concerta has got different layers which releases during the day as the day goes on, which is an awesome invention. But yeah, that you can go and search for it. I'm sure there will be a lot of information on that. My story. The first time when I heard about me having ADHD, I then also started using Ritalin, and I didn't like it because it kind of gave me a feeling of I don't know what to say, but it's kind of, I got the feeling that there was too much oxygen in my brain. It's kind of a hyped feeling. And then obviously it slows down and it normalizes, but that moment when it starts integrating into your body, that feeling I didn't like. And from my perspective at least, I couldn't really notice a difference in terms of executive functions and functionality and those things. So then I stopped it for a long time. I just thought it's not worth it. My daughter started using Ritalin, in a 16-year period, almost 16-year period. She moved from Ritalin to Strattera to eventually Concerta, and actually her development, her life story is actually a better one, because we've noticed also in terms of her school achievement and her emotional stability and her relationships and things, that as your body changes, the need for dopamine and the release of those chemicals provides whatever you need at a certain stage. And she got to a point where she didn't enjoy the Ritalin anymore. And that's why I'm a firm believer of, whenever you want to take medicine or medication in terms of ADHD, please do not try and do it yourself with a trial and error. Please do it with a psychiatrist, because they follow the track and follow your emotions and follow your responses and then apply their knowledge in terms of that. But yeah, that's another story. So I skipped the Ritalin. I can't remember for how many years, but at one point, I think the trigger was when I disciplined my daughter at one point, to such an extent that I afterwards thought, this can't be right. Something's wrong somewhere. I'm not sure where, but this just can't. It just can't go on like this. So I realized that something have to change in me. Obviously in her also, but I'm not in control of that. So something has to change in terms of how I respond to frustration and anger and discipline and those things. And that's when I went back to a psychiatrist, a different one, by the way. And I started, by going through the motions of, start low with low doses and then go up and up and up until you reach the optimal dosage for your body and your functioning and things like that. The strange thing is, I haven't noticed the difference of using medication in terms of my functionality, because over years, remember, I only heard about ADHD when I was about 44. So for a long time in my life, I had to develop skills and tools and things to help me cope with things which I didn't realize at the time what it was, but I realized it was not helping me. So I had to develop tools and skills to counter that. And I continued with that because that became part of my life. So when I started using medication, I didn't really notice the difference in terms of functionality. But I just kept on. And then I skipped a few days. And guess who was the first persons who noticed the fact that I'm not on medication? My family and my colleagues. And that made me wonder. I might not realize the difference immediately in terms of my functionality, but my family immediately noticed in terms of my frustration levels, in terms of my anger levels, and my colleagues. I mean, one day one of my colleagues said to me, why are you yelling at us today? And in my opinion, I was not nearly yelling, but they realized that something is different. So I started again drinking the medication, and skipped long, probably about 6, 7, 8 months later. I skipped again a few days to kind of to see if it really makes a difference. And again, the first day when I skipped it, my wife asked me, have you taken the medication? Because she noticed immediately that my level of frustration and anger is not the same as it was for a long time. So eventually I decided I will take medication. Despite the fact that I've managed to develop skills over a long time in my life for planning and time management and those kind of things. But the one thing which I obviously over years could not overcome or manage correctly, partly because I just didn't knew about it, was the relationship with my family, and that interaction. So I made a decision that I will take medication, although I might not feel or see the difference immediately, for the one sole purpose, and that is for the sake of my relationship with my family. And with all the hype and all the different opinions and all the issues about medication, to me that is sufficient. There is sufficient reasons for me to normalize the relationships and the emotions in a normal household to take the medication. Lately, I've actually also realized that it does make a difference. One morning when I had to deliver a sermon, I forgot to take my medication, and I couldn't understand what's going on, but I just, afterwards, when the sermon was over, I just thought, it was not really what I thought I would have wanted to bring over to the congregation. And while thinking about the whole sermon and the whole morning, suddenly I realized, oh wait, I forgot to take my medication this morning. So the conclusion that I drew from that experience was that it does make a difference. That sermon felt to me as if I was all over the place, with no logic, no flow, no, whatever came up in my mind, I just blurted it out, as part of the sermon. While when I do take the medication, it's kind of, and it doesn't take your spontaneity away. It just gives you more control of what you say, when you say, and how you say it. I think the main thing is how you say a thing. You can say the same thing that you have to say, but there are two different ways of saying it. The one can antagonize people so much so that they don't hear anything else that you're saying. It does make a difference. I've also noticed that it does make a difference in my driving style. When I do not take my medication, I take chances and I speed. Well, when I take medication, it's kind of just more relaxed. I do overtake, but I do overtake when it's safe and purposeful. But yeah, so in general, it just makes your decision-making skills just it just gives you that second or two to think. And by the way, that is one of the skills that Russell Barkley, in his books, recommends for managing ADHD. The first one of it is, for example, stop and just stop for a moment and think. And that 1-2 second delay before you take an decision and act on it just gives you that minute or that second to reconsider and just think, is this the best thing that I should and can do now in this situation? So, yeah. As I said in the beginning, there's a lot of arguments for and a lot of arguments against. There's a lot of issues, there's a lot of complaints, there's a lot of people who have who has taken Ritalin and felt, and it's true, Ritalin gives you this, this spikes. You spike up and when it works out you spike down and you feel depressed, and so it's true. There is truth in some of those complaints in terms of medication. But that's why it's important to see a psychiatrist which can take you through those things, because other people can function perfectly on Ritalin. It didn't work for me. But Concerta does. So it's important to go through those processes to make sure that you find the equilibrium, the optimal functionality. And remember, medication is not magic. Medication does not take away the ADHD. It helps you to manage the ADHD characteristics in such a way that you can still have a let me rephrase it. It helps you in such a way that you can minimize the things that affects your functionality, the things that makes your life miserable. It just eases those processes a little bit more. It's still a work in progress. It's still things that you need to take into account. Impulsivity in a shop, spending money on a credit card. It doesn't take those things away. It just gives you that second to think about and determine and decide, should I really do this now? And still you make the wrong decision, and still you do things that you shouldn't have, but at least it minimizes the occurrence, which, if I think back, I've said things that I should never have said. I've done things that I should never have done. I've bought things that I should never have bought. So, so that's my story today, is that for every person, medication might be a different issue, and some will hate it and some will love it. And it's fine. Whatever you choose, that's good. That's cool. But personally, I felt that, to me, medication is part of the normal functionality of my family relationships, and that, to me, was enough reason to continue using medication for ADHD. So yeah. That's as I said, if anyone needs more information or answers or questions or whatever, leave a note, ask, send me a private message. I wouldn't mind just sharing, my experience and my life with someone for whom it might be beneficial. And yeah. I haven't touched on the abuse of medication. But that's another, maybe I must make a whole video on the abuse of medication, because that also does happen. And it's sad because that gives the proper use of medication a bad name. But as I said, that's a whole new story. Thank you for watching. Oh, but this is really nice. Smoky, stable, and because I love horse riding, probably that reminds me something about horse riding and stable and farming and things like that. But Gaslight, man, it's nice. But yeah, any case, enjoy your day, and thank you for watching. Please subscribe, and please share the video. There might be a lot of people who is wondering about whether medication is good or not good. So you're welcome, share the video. Thank you, Chewy. But yeah, enjoy the day. Thank you for watching. Please subscribe. See you later. Thanks. Bye-bye.